everybody, welcome back to the Bluegrass Farmer. I'm on my way to pick up some farm supplies today. I need to get some fertilizer and some weed killer for the farm. So I'm going to go up here and pick us up some supplies and take it back to the farm, and we'll get ready to throw some fertilizer today. So hang tight, we'll be back here directly. Time to go load up. We've had about 2 nights of freezing weather. The other night it got down to 24 degrees with a heavy freeze. Last night it got down to 25. And of course everything's in bloom. So I got all the fertilizer unloaded. But I wanted to come out here and check my strawberries to make sure that they weren't damaged. But they look good, and I think we'll be fine with these. This whole section through here is nothing but strawberries. All the way through here. I planted these last year, so it's going to take a while for them to get established, but they're all kind of different types. They come on at different times of the year too, so I planted a different variety. I didn't want them all coming on at one time, so some come on a little earlier in the spring, later in the spring, and some of them come on in the summertime. So that's what I've got going on here, but it's going to take probably another year before this really gets established. And that's the reason I bought several bags of fertilizer. I want to fertilize this. And I'm going to show you the apple orchard. I've never talked about our apple orchard in the videos. And over here, you can see this big stalk of asparagus. All the way down through here is nothing but asparagus. I planted this last year, and I've always been told that you wait at least 2 years before you harvest any asparagus. You let all this go back to seed. So I'm going to wait and resist the temptation of cutting asparagus, let all this go back to seed, and then hopefully next year I'll have abundant crop of asparagus. But I want to fertilize this real well to try to get it established as much as I can. I think in one of my past videos I may have mentioned we also have a horseradish that comes up every year, and the wife, she is going to attempt to make horseradish sauce. So what we'll do is we'll pull the roots. We'll pull the roots of these plants later on this year, and then just keep some of the roots back in there, and they'll keep on growing. So you don't take the whole thing. You leave some roots where you can keep getting horseradish plants every year. Another thing I've got a big problem with here too, I forgot to show you, the tops of these asparagus have been eat off. You can probably tell there with that one. I got one that's nibbled down here pretty close, and this one here has definitely been nibbled off at the top. I've got deer running around here like feral cats. I've got plenty of deer around here, and something I've got to put up with. I'm not a hunter, so I guess they'll eat their part and then I'll try to eat my part, but they're aggravating. I've tried all kinds of little remedies and things other than sitting up here with a 30-30. I don't know how else to really get rid of them. They're calling for rain tonight. It's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to throw some fertilizer. Especially on the asparagus and the strawberries. I've got 25 apple trees, about 10 pecan trees, 1 pear tree. Used to have 2, but the storm took that one out. Our goal is to make apple cider this year. I have a cider press. It's a double bay cider press that I'll show you later on. But we make apple cider here, fresh apple cider at the farm in the fall. Usually a big family event. Get the family come up, get all the kids to pick the apples. Very seldom do I pick the apples off the tree. And people wonder why in the world I don't do that. Or your better cider apples are the ones that's already fallen to the ground. So if they're on the ground, they work a lot better. Now I do pick them off the tree after a while, but all the cider apples I get off the ground. Of course, they're going to be mulched up anyway, so you know you're not looking for anything beautiful as far as an apple goes when you're doing apple cider. But there's more juice on the ones that have fallen on the ground than the ones that are on the tree, at least in my opinion that I've found. But we'll get them all. We'll crush them all, make apple cider. One thing I wanted to check for sure, since everything's in bloom and you get these 20-degree nights, how it affects your apple tree as far as the production of it. They've got a little burnt on them, especially ones like this where they're burnt. But then you see new growth coming out like this. I think we'll be okay. They can't take another 20 degree though. I think if we get another hard freeze, more than one, that will cut into the apple production for this year, at least the crop part. The orchard is strictly organic. I do not spray anything on the trees. So what I get is what I get. It's a fresh apple with no chemicals on it at all. I don't spray for insects, pests, or anything like that. Everything is strictly organic. Because when I'm doing apple cider, I want a clean apple going in. And I know when I take a drink, I know that I'm eating or drinking an apple that is about as pure as you can get, with no herbicide or anything on it. You can tell these blooms are a little burnt. I've got one of those crank spreaders that you go throw over your back. I've also got a spinner for the tractor that goes on. I do it like my grandfather and my dad always did it. I'll take a thing of fertilizer, and I broadcast it all by hand. I get a better cover, just the way I was taught to do it. Sometimes it's better to do it the old-fashioned way at times. With this coronavirus thing going on, the president trying to get the economy back up and running, I believe we're going to have to go back to the old ways for a while. Maybe just the way I'm thinking. but it's not going to come on like a lighthouse or a light. This is going to be a long, drawn-out process. So for those of you that don't know how to can food, things like that, which I'm lucky, wife and I know how to do that, and we do can. I would encourage you to get you a book and start learning how to can. You guys okay? Another thing about these apple trees, I've got mostly red delicious, yellow delicious. I've got galas from Fuji, and that's about it. I'm not a Granny Smith type of guy. I don't like the real sour apples. I'm not a green apple guy. I'm not a Granny Smith fan. A lot of people like it. I'm more into the sugar content. But what we'll do is we'll get a variety of apples. That makes the best apple cider, when you can put different varieties in your mix and mash them all together. Let me put a short clip in here showing you a little bit of the apple operation. This is what we did several years ago when my dad was alive. So here's a quick video showing that. One thing my dad, one of many things that he really looked forward to each year was making of the apple cider. His job was to feed the press, and he enjoyed doing that. He got a big chuckle out of that. That was his main job, was the feeding the apples to the cider mill, cider press. So it's kind of a short video today. I wanted to show you a little bit of the orchard. You'll see more of this this fall when the apple cider project starts coming on. And then of course, hopefully later on we'll have abundance of apples on the trees that we can that I can show you as they start producing. So that's the reason I'm out here today, is throwing some fertilizer. Plus I want to get a good stand of grass here in the orchard. It's a little thin, and I think with fertilizer it'll help out a whole lot. Plus it wouldn't hurt the trees either. So that's my project for today. I've got some other stuff I want to do out here in the orchard as well. I've got a little cleanup that I want to do. But yeah, hopefully later on this summer I can show you the apples, and then hopefully we can have a good crop this year. Pull out the old cider press and show you how we make apple cider. Another thing I do as well, besides making the apple cider, I make hard apple cider as well. I ferment that and put a little doctrine to it. I call it stump jack. So hopefully I can show you how to do that. Make a little stump jack. It's got a little kick to it, a little alcohol on it, but it's good for snake bites. And that's the only reason that's the only reason I make it. In case we get bit by a snake, I can take me a big swig of it real quick. All right, folks, appreciate you being with me today. Like I say, a little short video out here in the orchard, fertilizing it. Temperatures next week supposed to be back up in the 70s. I'm hoping we're through with the freeze for this year, but we're still in the freeze category. Usually after the first week or two of May, you can pretty well say goodbye to the freeze and the frost. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But everybody, thanks for watching. Appreciate you being with me, like I say. And we'll catch you again on the next Bluegrass Farmer. I'm gonna get back to fertilizing everything. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you later.